Hashtag Neil the Seal has over 50 million views on TikTok. If you're on social media and love wildlife, then I'm pretty confident you've seen videos of Neil the Seal playing with traffic cones, glumphing across roads, or napping in people's front lawns. While these antics have taken the internet by storm, wildlife officials and experts are actually pretty alarmed. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm KP, a marine biologist with over a decade's worth of experience working with sea lions, walruses, and of course, seals. Let's start with some important facts about Neil the seal. Neil is a southern elephant seal, which are the largest living pinnipeds, and it's actually not even close. Male stellar sea lions, like the one that you see here, can grow up to 11 feet long and weigh around 2,500 pounds.
Good job, Chunky Monkey.
Walruses get to about 12 feet long and between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds. Southern elephant seals are often twice the size of a full-grown walrus and 4 times as big as the juvenile male walrus that I work with. Male southern elephant seals can be 20 feet long and weigh up to 8,800 pounds. To put this in perspective, check out this video of a male elephant seal absolutely demolishing a car. Oh my gosh, they're so big. Look at this dummy. Like, do you know how easy it would be to get crushed by that? Southern elephant seals are also one of the deepest diving animals on the planet. They routinely dive up to 3,000 feet in search of large fish and squid, which I go into in greater depth in a video right up here. Is it left hand?
It's your left hand.
Great! And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy learning about marine mammals. These seals will spend months and months hunting in the open ocean in foraging areas that are often several thousand miles away from land. In fact, elephant seals only come onto land to molt their fur and to reproduce. Bull elephant seals usually arrive at the mating grounds in December through January, where they establish territories. They'll use their large inflatable nose called a proboscis to produce a noise that sounds like a drum as a way to vocally threaten each other and scare away weaker males. When this doesn't work, the males will engage in vicious fights that can last days and often result in bloody injuries and lifelong scars. Which brings us to Neil. You can clearly see from the videos that Neil is not fully grown. He reportedly weighs around 1,000 to 1,300 pounds, so nowhere near the 8,800 pounds of a full-grown bull. He also doesn't have that big proboscis yet. That's because he's just a baby. So this is actually Neil practicing some of those bull-elephant fighting behaviors. That rearing up and lunging at this traffic thing. I don't even know what it is. It looks adorable because he's tiny, but it's actually terrifying when they're bigger. Neil was born in 2020 on the southern tip of Tasmania near Hobart, where he was tagged by the Marine Conservation Program. I'm assuming that's what's on top of his head. So he's only about 3 years old. Male southern elephant seals don't usually reach sexual maturity until they're around 6 years old, and won't even begin competing with other bulls until they're closer to 10. Even though Neil isn't sexually mature, he still has that natural instinct to come onto land during the breeding season. But given his youth and age, he doesn't stand a chance against a full-grown bull. He might even have tried to haul out on one of the breeding beaches, but even if he did, the bulls would have chased him away, which is why we see him menacing the locals of Tasmania. Oh, and now we're mad at this traffic cone. Oh, there's an evil traffic cone. So yeah, poor Neil, he can't hold his own against big males, so he's gonna take on this traffic cone instead. And that brings me to why myself and other wildlife experts are concerned. Remember Freya? She was a juvenile walrus who became a popular attraction in the heavily populated Oslo Fjord. Just like Neil, she became an internet sensation with videos of her sinking boats going viral on social media. Wildlife authorities and the Norwegian government begged people to stay away from Freya and give her space. But despite these warnings, people kept getting dangerously close to the young walrus, and even trying to swim with her. Eventually, officials determined that Freya was a threat to humans, and so she was euthanized. All because humans failed to listen to repeated warnings to stay away from her. The same thing is happening with Neil. In Tasmania, the Department of Natural Resources and Environment and Marine Conservation Program have repeatedly told people to keep themselves and their pets away from Neil. But as you can see in these videos, people aren't listening. But yeah, like, stay away from him. There's just no need to be that close. You know what? Do you know how zoomed in I can get on this camera? Like, I don't need to be anywhere near any of these creatures to get just like a brilliant video. Like, we have smartphones now. There's no need to get up in there. This is like a Tasmania's version of Yellowstone National Park, where people are walking up and like touching bison. According to the Time magazine, there have been at least 3 instances of people harassing Neil by poking and prodding him with sticks and even touching him, leading wildlife officials to urge the public to report potential acts of animal cruelty. This has resulted in several interventions to relocate Neil and try to keep the seal's location private. And this person is actually with the Marine Conservation Program, so obviously they know what they're doing. But you can tell very clearly by Neil's posture that he is uncomfortable and angry in the situation. But it looks like they're probably trying to relocate him. This is a trained professional here. As cute as Neil is, he is a wild animal. It's also the breeding season, where even juveniles like Neil can be extremely aggressive and dangerous. He's kind of got his little proboscis is coming in a little bit. You can see him inflating it a little bit. So this is posturing, like he's definitely saying that he doesn't want this person to be as close as they are.
What are you doing?
Yeah, and then he chases them.
Come on, let's go down here, come on.
Predictable. Just leave Neil alone. On the other hand, there are absolutely a lot of positive things about Neil the seal. Videos of him are fun, and most of them are harmless interactions. Neil just chilling, just having a little belly scratch in the front yard. Sunny day. Have a little snot on the lawn. Beautiful. They've brought a lot of interest in southern elephant seals, who are a threatened species in Australia. Since the 1950s, there have been an unexplained decline in the subpopulations of southern elephant seals in the Pacific Ocean. The reason for the decline is currently unknown. Thankfully, the population is currently considered stable, and we want to keep it that way. We want Neil to grow up to be one of those massive bulls who has a harem of 40 to 50 females so that the population can continue to rebound. We can also use these viral videos of Neil to showcase his species and highlight the importance of marine mammal conservation. We can bring attention to the unique threats and dangers that these seals face, and we can use his videos to hopefully inspire people to take the steps necessary to protect them by supporting wildlife projects like the Marine Conservation Program. We can also follow the program's guidelines and stay 20 meters or 65 feet away from Neil at all times and give him the space he needs to simply be a seal. When they stand up like that, it's just wild.
Yeah, can you explain like how the posturing, like standing up like that, what that means?
Standing up like that is just very much their fighting posture, so that's just what they do, that's what the males do. I don't know if the females do it or not, but that's just very quintessential like male fighting behavior. There's just so much of that that's just like instinctual, right? Is, you know, just for whatever reason, elephant seals just like to kick the crap out of things. Any kind of object that is like large and in their way, they are just going to beat it into submission. Instinctively, they are just like ass kickers. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.